Eighth and final World Cup of the BMW IBSF two-man bobsleigh season at Königssee in Bavaria. The season ends in Germany as it started, and it's a beautiful early spring afternoon as we get ready for the first of two trips down the oldest artificially iced track on the planet to decide the fate of the Crystal Globe. Martin Haven, alongside me, John Morgan, trackside at this demanding German track.
Well, it was built in 1971 and opened on the shores of Lake Königssee here in the heart of Bavaria, the heart of sliding and steep start. A lot of running here. Man Bobsleigh and Dombas, well, they own the start record on all the tracks when they're healthy. They're not healthy, but they're coming off a four-man world championship. Watch this first curve. Real challenging in the women's bobsled race. Real abrupt change of direction if you come on the wrong side. The slalom group, 4 S's, 4 S curves. It's like being in a Disney World ride, and then you shoot down this long straightaway. It's not a straightaway, it's a bend away. You got to hit a couple times. And then you shoot into this turbodrome, this Kreisel that is just tight and freaky on the exits. You got to watch yourselves down here. This tight three-quarter combination, the labyrinth. A lot of pressure down here, too, with the athletes. Down into the Echovon, where we've seen in all bobsled skeleton competitions, you're going uphill here for the last 200 meters. You can lose a lot of time. You got to watch out for that little exit of Echovon. But Martin, tight, quick track to get down, very challenging. This isn't a start track like we saw last week at the World Championships in Innsbruck.
Track record was set in our race here in December this year, but the start record dates back to November 2011. Yoon Jong-won of Korea on the brink of making history. He leads the two-man World Cup chase from Nico Walter and Ugis Zalims. Zalims off a very out-of-form World Championship fortnight. It's unlikely to be any kind of a challenge, but it might come down to Nico Walter for Germany trying to overhaul the Korean. However, it does look highly likely that barring a major disaster or some injury, it will be a first World Cup win for Korea in any sliding sport. Well, the air +3, it's a sunny afternoon, beautiful spring day, and the ice has been hard and fast after a hard frost last night. Stephen Holcomb missed the cut in the four-man World Championship race just a week ago in Eagles in Austria. Justin Cripps had a decent run in the two-man competition. It's definitely his discipline, and so he'll be looking to end the season well. But what about this story? Yoon Jong-won of Korea.
Yeah, it just amazes me that he's in the position to win the World Cup title. As we head back to Korea next week, we don't, but they're going to open the track there, and here it is. They're coming in with the World Cup two-man champion. What a way to promote the sport.
Well, he'll be the fourth man out. We've got a good, solid field of 24 sleds. 4 of them will get cut before the second heat. The fastest 20 go through into the final run of the season.
Quite a season it's been.
Königssee in Bavaria, the final World Cup race of the BMW IBSF two-man season gets underway. Ugis Zalims of Latvia, his brakeman Intars Dambis. Zalims, who had his birthday just last Friday in the World Championships, that wasn't enough to bring much of a highlight to his world. He looked lost all fortnight in Eagles.
And with a great start time, so it was very perplexing to watch this athlete with a great start, 4:88 and 4:77. His teammates, Man Bobsleigh, comes up next, a couple sleds from now, and he owns the track record of 4:77. I don't know if we're going to see that, but the conditions here look pretty optimal for some fast times here. 3 hits, that's the norm. Now watch the Kreisel. Now can he be consistent? And how does he exit? And here, watch the back end of the sled of the second cut right here. Ooh, nice. Looks like they're getting through there a lot easier than they did yesterday in women's bob and women's skeleton. Men's skeleton, that area of the track was tame.
The women's skeleton was ugly down in the labyrinth yesterday. Women's bob, not so much. You can control the direction a bit better. 49.84, 6/10 away, 5.5 tenths away.
That tells me the track record's got, especially the second run as it continues to get cooler here. But Martin, you said it was ugly in women's skeleton. It was not ugly. It was very entertaining for us.
It was, but it was brutal. I mean, we were quite surprised at how much of a challenge that lower labyrinth was yesterday morning.
And somehow the Ice Meisters have changed things because the men are having no problem. And to start, well, these Latvians, these decathletes, the super athletes that come out of the small nation of 1.9 million people and have the best starts. Not only one team, two, but the top. All three teams will be in the top 5 or 6 at the start.
Well, Uku Salim sets the pace. Next up for Switzerland, Rico Peter, the 32-year-old landscape gardener. And what a weekend he had last weekend. He was 10th in the two-man World Championships 2 weeks ago. But last week, bronze in the four-man. Not too many people would have had money on that before the start of the World Championships, including Rico himself, I might suggest. But that kind of boost shows just what form he is capable of.
Swiss sleds always do well on this track.
Brendan Fabio Patrão hasn't started too many World Cup races behind Rico.
Start's going to be his important. It's not bad, 492 to be within 400s of Hugo Zalmans, who's third in World Cup points. Rico Peter sits back in 5th, but he's got a chance to move up here. He's got to catch Mel Barnes and pass Mel Barnes. But good season, yeah, great season for Rico, for Mr. Peter here. He had a, we saw him last year break out with that win in Sochi at the World Cup. But just every event, he just seems to be right there near the leader's box.
Yep. Victory in the race in Whistler he shared with Yun Jung Won. They couldn't believe it. We couldn't believe it was a dead heat. They had to hand out 2 gold medals. And he takes the lead here by 1600s, 49.68. We're only 41 hundredths away from the track record.
Well, that tells me that normally he's 3/10 better than, so maybe 2/10 better. So that's about correct. It's about where you'd expect to find Peter, just ahead of Zalmas.
Zalmas has had a decent season, 3rd in the World Cup points. Rico's only 5th despite that win.
Zalmas, he's got 1 medal. That was the 2nd place that he had in Whistler. And Rico Peter he's been up and down. A couple bad results, especially on his home track at St. Moritz, where he had a appalling 17th position, or he was up in 3rd place before that.
For Germany, Nico Walter, the 25-year-old from Freital near Altenburg, junior world champion in two-man 2 seasons ago. Let's see what he can produce. His real forte is still the four-man.
Well, he's 2nd in World Cup points.
Yeah, despite that.
3rd in this event in December. Decent start. He's not the best two-man guy. I mean, four-man, he wins. But boy, he didn't have a very good Innsbruck World Championships. He was 11th place.
As if you look at the form, he's only 4th in four-man points, but he's 2nd in two-man points. Yet we know and he knows he's better in a four-man.
He might be the combined leader. He might be the combined leader.
There's a decent chance.
Why do we have to figure that out? Oh, he's down only 200s here. That tells me he's bleeding time back, and he's going to have to take all his knowledge of this track on the bottom, because Rico Peter was perfect and steady.
Oh. Look at the accelerometer at the bottom. You don't gain any speed here to the line. It only drifts away.
And there's the expression of our Vollmeister, and he doesn't like it.
That's a Bavarian who knows this track inside out. The coach, Christoph Langen. This is his home track.
How many victories he's had on that track, track.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of Latvians down here. But this isn't bad out of the S's. A little bit of a skid, and now he starts to take his medicine, which is bouncing off a couple walls. Nico Walter, I don't think he likes that heat.
Well, Yun Jung Won of Korea, what a story this young man is producing, just 30 years old, from Seoul.
Young Won Seoul in the back, this is a very formidable 2-person team here at the start, and
such strong starters, and Sio's been on pretty much every trip all year long. He's remained healthy and still has
look
that
at
speed.
the tech now. Look at the consistency of watch him get in, get down. Look at the efficiency. Then he buries himself in there with the perfect aerodynamic pose. And look that curve one, you don't see the violent transition into the curve like we saw last night at women's bike. Something that the Ice Meisters might have changed that up too.
They definitely reshaped it after training because everybody was airborne on that first corner. And they're only doing
This is clean.
28 miles an hour.
Kawashi's consistency here.
Only 100th in the lead. It's below here that the Germans mine for gold.
Yeah, how about that Rico Peter, that Swiss guy? The Swiss are always good in this track, and so is the Korean here. Juan has got a great line.
400s up.
Look at the runner tips here. Perfect. That's why he's accelerating away. This will be the leader.
And it's a 49.59 to take the lead.
Well, the exuberance in the Korean camp, I don't think the Koreans can believe what they went through. They lost their coach, Malcolm Lloyd. You see his picture in the front of the sled right around the new year. And they went on next week, after 2 weeks later, to win in Whistler. And he's taken over this World Cup title. A lot to do with Francisco Friedrich being hurt in the middle part of the year. But give him credit. I mean, he's just consistent every place he goes. He didn't have a very good World Championships in Innsbruck, 7th place. But, I mean, he's going to be the World Cup champion as the sport enters Asia in the next couple of years. That's unbelievable.
4 trips to the podium, including that win in the double two-man weekend in Whistler. Of course, Whistler is the Korean team's home track. Well, it is until next week. Next up, Stephen Holcomb. Decent start draw for Holkey. Let's see what he can produce. 35-year-old from Park City, Utah.
Pretty good here at the December event. He was 7th. Then he went on to the next event, Lake Placid, won it. I mean, there's no doubt about his ability to drive on sleds where the start's not important. But here, he's going to have to get a 498 or something to have a chance. If he gets a 5 flat start, he's going to be buried. And he's been nagged by that quad injury all year. And last weekend, his team, two of his teammates got killed. So, excuse me, not a good choice of words. 2 of his teammates got injured. One at the start in the first run, and the second heat, he dropped the sled on his hand. It's been a tough season for the U.S. team, especially the second half of the year.
Holcomb had 2 trips to the podium in the two-man. That win in Lake Placid, 2nd in St. Moritz. Where again, he has the room to use his technique.
A little late there.
Yeah, bumping everything in sight at the moment.
He's been really doing well on the bottom part of the track, which is what he does. You know, here it is. He was
absolutely up.
Yeah.
That is not what he needed.
4 tenths down. And Richard Labenstein on the right, Scheimer on the left know that he's going to be relegated to 10 to the 15 area most likely. Got more in the start. I mean, he's 1,400s behind, should be 4,200s behind at the bottom. He's only 41. But this is 8-9, or the combination out of the 4 S's. You get confused in the numbers because there's the luge track and the bobsled track, and it's which one you take. And here he taps in a little early coming off Kreisel. That affected his ability to accelerate for speed.
Stephen Holcomb of the USA lying in 5th place. 5 of our 22 sleds down in the first of 2 heats, the season finale. Canada's Chris Spring is our 6th of 22 starters. 31-year-old originally from Darwin in Australia's Northern Territory, now lives in Calgary. With his favoured two-man sled, the one they call Obi-Wan. His favoured two-man brakeman. King is not on the back of the sled, so Sam Giguère steps in this weekend.
Football player for the Montreal Alouettes. Sherbert. He's quite a compact guy. 5th best start, 94. Sam will be back in the Alouettes training camp in the spring.
Well, Chris Spring had a horror story here in December, 22nd place, and this isn't looking an awful lot nicer.
Hard to believe he goes 22nd, then by the time he gets to Whistler, he wins the race.
Yeah.
You know, you talk about erratic. Consistent, but the win was great. What he needed, re-energized his season. And, you know, the guy could drive. We all know that.
At the moment, he is hanging out the back of the field behind Stephen Holcomb.
Boy, did he lose some time on the bottom part of the track.
Oh, dear.
He lost, so he got crushed on the bottom. He was 49 hundredths, and then in the last eye, he lost 12 more.
Yeah, shakes his head, and I'm not surprised.
Well, in the straightaway, watch his runners here in the long straightaway, the bend away. Watch that. Well, he's trying to get control of the sled. He's worried about a skid. Now watch him just check the runners. He does that like 3 times, 2. Okay, I'm staying away. Okay, he's still on a skid though. Look,
yeah,
still on a skid. And then he comes out of the next bend around and he does it again. So he didn't have. Might be best just to not check the runners and just hit the wall and go on.
Tail just refused to play ball and follow the front at all. It was not interested. Next up is Russia's Alexander Kashanov. Kashanov didn't compete in the... he did, yeah, 18th place in the 2-man race. He was there, but 18th position.
At the World Championships,
yeah.
Only followed by Holcomb. Holcomb and this... Kashanov and Holcomb finished 3rd and 4th at the Sochi Olympic Games in the 2-man event. 2 years later at the World Championships, they're finishing 18th and 19th.
Yeah.
Figure that out.
Can barely wash their faces.
Figure that out. Yeah. I mean, that's horrific.
Well, 2 years ago, Holcomb came into the season off a summer of injury. This year, he came in fit after the summer and immediately got injured right at the beginning of the season. So we've been talking about that all year. With a race every week, pretty much, it's just no time to recover.
And with that quad injury, it's tough for him to continue to train.
Yeah.
And, you know, so you look late there.
It's high, wasn't it?
Yeah, late and high. He's not bad, though. He's going to be in the top 5.
Pick off Chris Spring. May get Holcomb at the line. No, he doesn't. He's ahead of Chris Spring.
Oh, boy, he lost a lot of time on the bottom, too. Him and Holcomb, the exact same times, the worst so far.
He and Holcomb will be crying into their beer together tonight.
10 to 15, but they're going to be better here than they were at the World Championships, where the Innsbruck, there's such an emphasis on the start. Here, they got a chance to show some driving talent, and check out the runner tips. Of course, he hits twice. I mean, he doesn't try and steer away. And here he's really high, though. The curve right before the Ecovand. And that causes him to get up high and long. He stays up high. But, you know, his mystery season continues.
Yeah, he won't be disappointed to see the end of this year, nor will Stephen Holcomb or Chris Spring. But from 3 drivers who've been in a slump to a man that isn't, Francesco Frigic only really was halted in his stride by injury after winning the first 3 races of the season.
He's got Candy Bauer on the back. Doesn't have Torsten Margus, and let's see what they do here. 485, so he switches out brake, but ooh, what a big hit there. He's the first 2-man sled that tried to get on early and we saw that last night with the women's race a lot. Candy Bauer, good story. He lost almost 24 pounds in the last 18 months to become more fit for bobsleigh. And boy, the coaches are high on his ability.
Whoa. Step back, everybody. The 2-man triple world champion is coming down, hitting everything in sight.
Oh, he has. He's way off the pace.
He has hit everything. This is making Kasyanov's run look decent.
This means Juan will be the leader by the end of the first heat. I don't think anybody's going to catch the Korean now.
Wow. Francesco Frigic,
the world champion.
2 weeks ago,
look at that.
He was a triple world champion.
He's tied for 3rd now with Nico Valter.
So Frigic's had 3 junior world championships, 3 senior 2-man, plus 2 team world golds.
I don't care what he's got. He just kicked the sled. He just kicked the sled.
Yeah.
Look at, listen, look at. Wow. Never seen him react like that.
I'm guessing that his choice of runner was overruled because he's shouting at Rennie Spies, and it's not about his own driving.
You know, because the golfer hits the... Yeah, something happened there at the start. But, you know, when a golfer hits the ball into the woods and he blames the club, I got to think, right here, this is the mistake.
Yeah. That's the first. There was a mistake at every corner. This is unbelievable. He's got almost a dozen gold medals at junior and senior world championship level, and he's driving like a raw rookie. Something rattled him, and he's still rattled. Something shook his cage. well and truly. I've never seen him like that. Well, now here is our four-man world champion. Oscar's Melbardis had his birthday last Wednesday. And what a present he gave himself. Look, he gives his sled a beautiful little stroke and a pat there. He's really in a good place, Melbardis.
His beast brakeman Damastryskins will have Achilles surgery. They're going to detach him like they did with Pine in September.
Don't even talk.
They are on Wednesday. They're going to operate on him. And he's been limping around. He's been limping around. Look at the 486, second best start. These two guys are at 80%. They won the four-man world championships, and they're hanging around on the two-man. But Melbardis missed a number of races because of a back injury. This might be the only guy that can catch one.
He's in the lead at the moment, 900ths of a second up. And in a similar sled.
No, he's not going to do it. It's going to be red numbers. He's going to fall here a lot in the bottom.
200ths of a second into the Kreisel. Yun Jung-won lower down has the speed.
He's going to be fifth or sixth here. He's going to lose all sorts of time at the bottom. Fifth, 1900ths back. Look at the coaches. They know. That's a little perplexing.
Not 900ths, that's a big margin.
25 second heat. I look at Juan as he's sitting there. I can win this race. I can win the World Cup title. I could do it in front of a German crowd.
Wouldn't that be just vindication of his season?
Yeah, he's nothing to it. He's got no revenge motives. He's just had an unbelievable season.
Yeah.
And these two big beasts, look at them. Get in, get down. The two biggest men in the competition. Look at them drift, though. Look at this drift out of the drive line quickly.
You get too far over to driver's right, and you're just going straight up turn one like it's a ski ramp. Justin Cripps of Canada, the international man of mystery, the 29-year-old, originally born in Hawaii.
3 passports.
Yeah.
That's why we call him the international man of mystery.
Hawaiian, Canadian, and...
Got a good brakeman on the back. These two guys have formed a pretty good start team here over the season. There were Kopak had to race off earlier in the season. Now he's established #1. Olaf Hampel, the former German world champion, helping out with the Canadians. He was in our truck earlier getting some video and saying, well, my job is to improve the Canadian team at the start. And that guy, he's got 3 Olympic gold medals around his neck on the back of Christoph Langen's son. If there's anybody can do that, it's him.
Okay, Cripps has had a good start to this run, from 100 behind 1 at the start. He's 300ths of a second up. Oh, and that may just have ended his challenge to overhaul the Korean.
Red numbers here pretty quick. Probably 600-800s down, if that. 7.
Nice run through the lower labyrinth, but one was clean.
Now it seems like the track just loses everything down here, so he's going to be back 20-2500s down. Probably 3000s down if he doesn't watch it.
Yun Jung-won was working miracles down at the bottom then, wasn't he? A 49.91 for Justin Cripps.
Wow. He didn't do bad. He had 2500s and he lost 7 more hundreds. 6th best start, 7th position. Didn't help himself up there in the bend around. It seems like everybody's sled now. It doesn't seem this track's got any speed in the bottom. But here, well, this has nothing to do with what the track has for speed if you're bouncing off full walls.
Yeah.
He's just saw it. But that's tricky.
Yun Jung-won of Korea with a 900ths of a second lead from fellow race winner Rico Pater. They were tied at the top of the table in Whistler. Could it happen again? 10 sleds down in our final 2-man race of the season. A field of 24 athletes getting ready to race. Ben Hefty of Switzerland next up. Hefty didn't compete in the 4-man pretty much all season. Took bronze in the 2-man World Championships a fortnight ago.
This is one of 2 sleds left that could take over the #1 spot. Start 90, 85. So game on here. He gets through the first curve, not like Friedrich did, banging that take on.
Well, his last race, he took the gold medal in St. Moritz, but his previous World Cup showing, which was here in December, 18th.
Yeah, but he didn't have that beast on the back, Alex Bellman, too, which he just posted the second best, tied the best start, 85. Green numbers here, but he's it's coming back. Watch out. If he's down to single digits here, he won't be the leader. No, he's hanging in there. So now the Swiss sleds are notorious for going fast on this track for a couple decades. And Hefty could challenge here in the bottom. Ooh, I don't know. I don't think so. Just had a big skid in the exit of Ecovond. No.
Oh, top five sleds covered by 1100s.
But that
top
means
3 by 9.
That's okay. Hefty went 11th.
Yeah.
One went 4th. I got it like they're going to go head-to-head in the second heat for the gold medal. And Hefty made a pretty good mistake on the exit of Ecovond. Abrupt on the exit and right here. Now watch him get above the X drive. He gets high here, stays high. Now watch the way the sled comes off. He's too high there in the outlet, and he creeps down the right side. He should be in the middle, and plus look like a little back-end skid. But he had 600s, and then he lost 800s on the bottom. He was 600s in the green, but he's positioned well. The challenge won for the gold medal in this competition.
200ths of a second cover the top 2. What about the junior 2-man and 4-man world champion, Johannes Lochner from Bavaria, with Joshua Bloom behind him.
This could be 483. This is unbelievable how young and efficient these two athletes are. 483!
First World Cup race of the season for Lochner. Can he put the cat among the pigeons? 1400ths of a second. That's a bigger lead than we saw from Ben Hefty, who just came within 200ths of the lead.
He had the World Championships tied after 3 heats, and he lost in the 4th run to his teammate Friedrich. He'd love to vindicate it all here today and win this race.
That would be a great way to come into the World Cup.
He's not going to do it, though. It's going to be red numbers.
Lost all that time.
It could be 10, 1500s red numbers if he's not clean here.
Well, the two Germans, Walter and Friedrich, are 1100s behind, tied for 4th. He's not going to match them for pace.
No,
he is right behind them by 700s.
This is not the script that Christoph Longman wrote for today.
Well, we've got the 3 German drivers ranked together, tied and 700s behind. Nico Walter and Friedrich with Lochner 700s behind, but they're not 1, 2, 3. They are 4, 5, 6, or 4, 4, 6, if you prefer.
You know, where did he go wrong? I mean, he didn't have the perfect straightaway above the Kreisel here. This looks pretty clean. Oh no, that little tap there is going to make the back end
taps him
hard.
away, and
it's going to be a hard hit. No, it wasn't. That was a good transition. Yep. So I don't know where it went wrong, but in the bottom part of the track, he did not have the speed.
He will. Johannes Lochner is definitely a name to conjure with in the future. 12 sleds down, and we have Korea, Switzerland as our top 3. Next up, Nick Cunningham from Monterey, California. Sam Mitchner on the back of the sled with him. So Cunningham, 8th here just before Christmas, off a 4th in Winterberg, and that was kind of the height of his career this season. 6th place then in Lake Placid, and after that it sort of tumbled into free fall in the bottom 3rd of the top 20. 5 flat getaway.
Well, a little bit better than his teammate, but boy, when you have that type of start, it's going to be pretty tough.
10th behind the leaders at the start. How close can he get down the bottom in this BMW sled? 2 tenths behind coming onto the bend away.
Listen to the sounds. Now the exit. Oh, late. Shifukasu, not bad. He's hanging in there. Keeps at this pace. Could go ahead of his teammate.
Could be a top 10 run.
Yeah, 43. Oh, he's not. He's going to fall behind Holcomb just by a little bit. 50. Boy, he lose time in the bottom.
Well, Holcomb 7th here before Christmas. Cunningham 8th. And at the moment, they are lying 10th and 12th.
But they have the 11th and 12th start times. That says it all about the U.S. chances. If you don't have a start time, especially on these short tracks, you have a little chance at the bottom.
Worryingly for them, there's 3 or 4 quick sleds still in the rest of the field.
Here, a little late there, but it didn't look like it cost him.
Well, little bumpy down there through the lower labyrinth. It looks a little narrower there when Cunningham goes down it than it did when Yoon Jung-won, our leader, went through. And that's the finesse that makes the line right, makes the drive right. Oskars Kybermanis of Latvia. Kybermanis lying in 14th in World Cup points. Highlight of his season, 6th in Winterberg, and then he came here a week later, 17th. Well, confusion at the start for Francesco Friedrich, we're here. Not quite sure what was going on, but it certainly put him off his stride. No problems for Oskars Kybermanis.
This is what he does. He's a great starter, but there's something about him not doing better than he's doing. 2 years ago, he was better in his first year. Last year, he fell off a little bit. This year, he's been on a free fall with negative results. And with his start times, I mean, of course, he's not driving well, but even with that start time, he should still be in the top 6 or 7. And I think this might be the third Latvian sled that they're using him as a test pilot.
Well, Kybermanis has got this new two-man steering system that has been developed by Eurotech, and it's taking a little while for him to get his head around it, I think. But
well, it just took him the whole season, because he's had a terrible season.
No, it was only introduced just before the World Championships in...
Yeah, but he was doing bad in December, or he was doing bad in January. But you know, he's just not.
Well, his problem, Sanders Crucis reckons, is Ugi Zalums. Zalums has outperformed him all year.
Yeah, that's not. He's just getting beat by everybody. Not only Zalums has outperformed him, but he's just not even in the top 15, 16, 17 in some trips. But hey, let's give a yell out to Sanders Crucis, the Latvian coach who broke his ankle at the World Championships last week, and he's got just had his second operation in Innsbruck.
Yep.
Boy, he's got a long road to recovery. But Sanders, your team won the World Championships with you in a hospital bed watching, so at least there's some.
So they don't need you. Yeah, thanks, Tom.
No, at least there's some satisfaction. Made that pain feel better.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. I bet he was ringing the call bell, demanding champagne as well as the morphine drip. Next up is Alexei Stulnev with Max Belugin behind him. And the Russians been sort of mixing and matching their program. Stulnev did 2-man and 4-man in the Worlds.
Last World Cup in St. Moritz, 9th. He was doing pretty good. 13th, though, in the World Championships.
Yeah.
But if they were giving awards away for training, he was fast in training both weeks.
11th here in December. That's where his teammate Kasyanov sits at the moment. So if he gets into 11th place and pushes him out, he will be a happy boy. Got to beat your teammate first. If you can't beat them, you're never going to beat everybody else.
Smooth.
0.08 of a second off the lead.
It's pretty good.
This is a nice looking run so far. It is tight to the top.
High there.
1100s covers the top 5 sleds.
This is doing great. This is really flying on the bottom part of the track. Stulnev just did it. Nice.
Wow, 6th position. That's a
Look at
really
Pierre
good run.
Luders.
Tied with Johannes Lochner.
Pierre Luders is like, what's that? What happened there? He finally figured it out. Because in training, he's
converted training into the race.
Finally.
Now, if he's opened that hose pipe at the end of the year, if he can do it next year, then suddenly we could see a very different Alexei Stulnev.
Hey, he started the season with a bad crash in Altenburg and had to compete in the first weekend with 8 stitches in his calf muscle. And he did that for 2 weekends, so he's tough. And this should be some way for him to finish the season top 6. That might be his best heat of his life ever in two-man bobsleigh.
Might be right. He's tied just behind another tie for 4th position, but it's Yoon Jung-won of Korea with the slender lead. 15 sleds down in a field of 24. 5 places left in the race. 9 sleds going for them, and that puts the pressure on Dong-Young Kim with his teammate Jin-Soo Kim behind him. And Kim currently lying 16th in World Cup rankings, but this time in December, this race in December, 12th place. One of his second best results of the year.
Then in St. Moritz, he just fell down 22nd. Didn't get a second run and got the World Championships, not much better. 22nd again, didn't get the final run of the 4th run.
This race was on the first run in home ice in Whistler, then he was DQ'd in the second heat, as you said. Free fall in St. Moritz, and the World Championships didn't really suit him. Not a driving track. At the moment, 13th off the start, 13th place, so ahead of Chris Spring and challenging Nick Cunningham. Up to 12th now, he's in front of Alexander Kasyanov. And that'll make Stulnev smile as well. No, this is going to be good. 11th place ahead of Stephen Holcomb.
Ducks his head.
12th at the line,
Right
300 behind Holcomb.
That's pretty good.
Yep.
That's, you know, better than what he's been doing the last couple of weeks, so that's encouraging for Kim and Kim as we enter the last run of the season for them coming up. If they finish in the top 12, they'd be very happy with that.
History repeating, they were 12th in the December race here.
So that tells you that he's got some talent. You know, talk about how close the fans can get to this track. We're going to show you the next replay. And we're going to show you how close the fans are. What's the green hand here? Come on! It went out almost. Oh, boy.
Oops.
I think that might be a little too close, and I bet you the security camera. I wonder if that bothered him.
It was out behind him, but
is that still on the track? I wonder.
Something waving in his eye line.
I wonder if it's still on the track.
Well, let's hope not. Simone Battazzo of Italy is our 17th of 24 starters.
And he will be the 17th best start time here.
Yeah, he might be struggling to make the cut, I think.
Well, he's a great driver. This is in Innsbruck. Last week he pulled out of the third run or the second run of the World Championships.
In the 2 weeks ago, he was done.
Yeah. Quad injury.
Did finish 14th here in December. This is almost like Bristol. We got a spring race and a fall race.
A whole race, yeah.
I like that.
Before Christmas and that. Well, listen, I don't mind coming here.
No.
The whole season. This place is spectacular.
Well, then we miss out on Samurai. Yeah, there's so many places you can't miss out on.
They're so well organized here. The fans, the spectators, the crowds, the organization, the receptions, the beauty. I mean, if you haven't been here for a bobsled race, this is where you want to come. This is like this is pretty special place.
17th at the start, still 17th, so he will be at the tail of the field.
He'll be struggling to make it ahead of one.
Ahead of Keeper Manis.
I told you that Keeper Manis, there's no reason. Yeah. Keeper Manis has the second best start. He's in last. You're telling me there ain't something wrong?
Yeah. Well,
and he's such a talented athlete. So
it's a head game, isn't it?
Well, no, there might be something more. He might be a test pilot. I don't know, but I'm hoping that guy gets it together because he's a top 5 athlete.
Well, he's got a lot more life in him, hasn't he? He's 22 years old, Keeper Manis. He's got a long road in front of him.
Yeah, but you can get pretty discouraged. There's a lot of
that's true.
There's a lot of mental mental game here in this sport.
It's a head game.
Confidence level. And
lots of confidence for Ivo de Bruin and Olaf van der Geest, but not much in the way of budget for these guys. However, they turn out an impeccable sled and an impeccable crew every time. And it's time for them really to get a little bit of funding and start to bring the performance level back up to where we know it can be.
Well, start times 5:07, 5:06, 5:06. Hard, abrupt entry to curve 1, and he drifts on the straightaway before the S's. Okay, you climb the wall. Such meticulous steering. You know, it's minute steering in there. It's like a roller coaster on rails, but you still have to exit there with a perfect line into the bend away, and then you got this thing.
17th fastest start. He is 18th at the moment, the 18th sled on the ice, and this is the slowest sled we've seen so far. And he's got driving ability, bronze medal in the Junior Worlds in 2012. He had a good 4-man form, and 2-man form rather, but his career has just kind of flatlined the last 2 or 3 seasons. The Dutch Federation really didn't put in any support at all.
13,000 euros for the whole season.
Seems like a lot of money to you and me, but when you consider that we've traveled across the Atlantic and all across North America, as well as driving around Europe, hotels for 4 or 5 guys in the crew, doesn't go far.
Feeding them, you know, the gym.
It doesn't even cover the airfares.
It's not like these resorts like St. Moritz and are inexpensive. Watch the back end here. Tries to get in too early on that finish curve, and that sidewall just says you got to wait another fraction of a second, Ivo.
No coaching for Ivo de Bruin either. Now here is a big sensation in the 2-man race in the World Championships. Former brakemen Bruce Tasker and Ben Simons combined. Bruce has been driving for a season and a bit, but the man from Pembrokeshire in Wales finished in 4th position in his first ever World Championships as a driver.
Best British finish in the World Championship in over 50 years.
Yep.
These two awesome athletes could light this up. This could be a 484, 485, if not better. That photographer gets out of the way. 49, surprised at that. Of course, he's got a new sled. This is a different sled than he had at the World Championships. Oh, and he's got issues.
Long skid going on.
Yeah, and now he's got to watch all the high he's going to get. Now he's in no rhythm here now, so he's probably going to come out and crash the wall here. No, he got out of there without too bad, but that straightaway skid above those S's, he just never had a rhythm going through there, and it's all about rhythm.
The feel of these sleds is always so different.
Well, especially he's got 6 practice trips in it. Yeah. You know, they changed sleds. He was driving that Swiss sled at the Worlds, and then that Brad Hall's coming up, he's driving it. And this is a new Singer? This is a new Singer.
Is it a Singer or a
look at him square around.
Bumps in the final corner.
Wow.
Wow, 7th at the start, 19th at the bottom.
There's an example of, you know, the difference in the equipment. He looked like a rookie driver right there. Look at him.
Yep. Hasn't got
this guy just finished 4th. Of course, Innsbruck, well, if he had the same sled, he wouldn't be in 19th. He might be in 10th, but because this is a real driver's track. But watch this. He comes from the right side.
Straight up turn 1.
Now he gets out and he steers out of there, and that steering causes like a little bit of a spin on the back of the sled. Then he could never get his rhythm. He was steering all the way through the S's, and now watch this skid. And then down here on the bottom, watch the back end here. He's sideways.
Yep.
Twice. Oh, look at this. He's almost squared around the finish curve.
Yep.
Hey, best British finish in 50 years at the World Championships 2 weeks ago.
And a great World Championship as well for Austria's Benny Meyer, the 21-year-old, 9th in the 2-man, and then a stunning 5th place finish in the 4-man Worlds.
Decent start, 11th best start. He finished. He was here in the World Cup in December, right?
Well, he started the season with only 2 brakemen, and he had to use one of the girls in the program to contest the Europa Cup race in the format.
In the format. He had plenty of 2-man brake, but he finished 25th.
He only had 2 guys.
He had 20 in the 2-man event. He was 21st here in December.
Yeah. But his season went from 29th with a girl on the crew in 4-man at the first Europa Cup race of the season, the Eagles, to 5th place in the World Championships. Donna Moldovan is on the back of the sled, a late addition from a Romanian brakeman.
This is pretty good. This is top 10.
Good-looking run.
11th best start, 14th best finish. Geez, boy, they lost a lot of time in the bottom.
Yeah.
Coach
from 9th in the S's and to 14th spot. But take that, it's been a...
Yeah, he started 21st. Remember, he finished 21st at this event in December. He's not going to finish 21st this time out. In fact, I bet he moves up second run because he'll have better ice to work with. Let's watch the runner tips here. Middle of the straightaway. Exit, no heads are smooth, very quiet. Back end, though, he's got a skid there. So he might have tried to fight off that curve and caused a skid going uphill.
Yoon Jung-won of Korea is our race leader. From Bert Hefty and Rico Peter, some very different names at the top of the leaderboard. Bruce Tasker, 20th on the bubble, with 4 sleds still to come. First of whom is Brad Hall from Great Britain. He's got Joel Fearon behind him. And Brad Hall also, John Baines, so late change there because we've got Joel Fearon on our entry list. Brad Hall, 25-year-old from Crawley in Sussex.
And what happened to
window cleaning decathlete. Kind of got tweaked in the warm-up. 17th in the two-man worlds, and that was not a bad shout either for a rookie driver.
Doesn't get the starts that his teammate gets. 489, he's probably 495, 496, 492, great. That's close to only 300s off his teammate. He was 600-700s off him.
Benny Meyer drove into 14th on an identical start, so let's see what this Citius sled can produce. Don't forget, we've got Citius sleds currently lying second and third. He's got more control.
Is this a Citius sled or this is a... no, this is...
That's a Citius.
I thought this is Billy Meyer hands, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but
I don't think it's a...
Citius.
No, I think, no, that's a... I think it's... I don't think it's a Citius.
Nice lines down through the lower labyrinth. This is heading towards potentially being a top 10 run for Bradley Hall.
He's bringing it up.
Here we go. Gets a good exit. 11th position. Now he'll keep the speed on board to the line. Top 10. 14th.
Boy,
lost in the
time.
final 2 or 3 corners.
Yeah, but everybody's losing time down there. That's the track. It's the uphill section of the track. It's all scratched up. That's still a good result for him. You know, again, he's in a new sled.
Well, he's in. Bruce Tasker is out. He bumps his teammate. The first out is Bruce Tasker.
What a reversal of fortune from 2 weeks ago to this for Bruce. Well, you change equipment. You know, these things don't all drive the same. And lines look pretty consistent here. So Brad Hall gets away from a high there.
Comes a little high in that second pressure.
TV doesn't do that corner justice when you stand there and watch them sleds come around.
Yeah, he's happy with that run.
He should be.
So he should. Next up, one of the big new names in the World Championships from the Czech Republic, Dominik Dvořák, former brakeman. And he started in 2010, been driving 2 years. And the 23-year-old had some really good speed going in the four-man competition. Beat a lot of good drivers to finish in the top 20.
Well, he finished 26th at the last World Cup in Samoritz.
And he was 26th in the Worlds in the two-man as well.
Pretty good start, though. 15th down, 15th by starting a little bit better, lower than average. Pretty good line there, though. 2 hits.
16th position on the split times as he gets to the Kreisel. He's in, and this would bump Ivo de Bruyn.
Late. Watch him here.
Now, this is where all the speed goes away in the track.
Yeah, right here at the bottom. It's an uphill section. Again, TV doesn't show how much of an uphill this is, but it's steep. We walk up it every day. It's steep up here.
20th place at the line. He is
20,
in. Wow.
Bumps out Ivo de Bruyn by 200ths.
Yikes. He's dog-eat-dog trying to make the second heat. The final heat of the World Cup season, Dominik Dvořák will do. So interesting to see what happens with him.
Anybody else could bump him out? What do you think?
I'm not thinking.
I don't know. The other two are.
It'll be interesting to see what Lucas Kolb of Austria can produce. But Dvořák, well, he got the break in the World Champs because Jan Verber, their #1 driver at the Czech Republic, was injured, couldn't compete. But Dvořák really stepped up and did it with a big smile on his face and some style. Well, Vukrad Jenovic for Serbia, 23rd of our 24 starters. Stefan Vojanic behind him. They had to bring in a new brakeman and Vuk.
In the sled again.
Yeah, well, he was sitting in the World Championships in the four-man. He's determined to try and get the points at the end of the season. But that means that it is only Lucas Kolb who might bounce 20th place Dominik Dvořák out, because without a start, Vuk's not going to have any chance of finishing in the top 20.
Hard transition onto one. Shows you how much he's, the push, he's already down 1 second. So when he's done here, he's going to be down 2 seconds plus.
Well, when he raced here in December, there was a field of 28 sleds. He was 28th, and he'll be 24th in this field of 24, unless there is a crash from the final sled.
Good lines. Of course, he's a lot slower than the the teams in the field. And this is all about World Cup ranking. That's what he's trying to achieve here.
Yeah.
More points here in the World Cup than there is in the Europa Cup or the
Well, a couple of points.
Cup.
Yeah, he'll get ahead of Ollie Biddulph, Marcus Sammer, try and overhaul them. Just moves you a little further up the order in the start draw for the next season's first few races. So 51.88 slide, and to put that into perspective, that's 1.4 seconds slower than Dominik Dvorak, who came down just in front of him.
Good lines there. I mean, that's pretty good. He's been down this track 200-300 times. He's been around for a decade. His father, Boris, for the Yugoslavian team at the '84 games. Vuk, a former wrestler. He's a big boy.
Half a second slower than Dvorak at the start alone. I was going to say before he sat down, but of course he was sitting down. Final sled in the penultimate heat of the two-man World Cup season for Lukas Kolb of Austria, with Frank the Tank, Franz Esterhammer, the brakeman for the 24-year-old driver.
Another rugby player in the field in the back seat here.
Two rugby players, because Lukas comes from rugby as well. So that's 2 sevenths of a sevens already from Austria. All they need to do is find another half dozen. You got it right, another 10.
Do here in the exit, rudder tips.
Took the tap, but he didn't panic. Hardly any steering at all.
He's going to need to find a magical line here on the bottom because he will not make the field at this rate.
If you're not in as you exit the Kreisel, you're not going to work your way in. Although he's come from 22nd to 21st ahead of Ivo de Bruin. There's only 200s between de Bruin and Dvorak.
85, he's gone behind him again.
Behind again, so he'll finish in front of Bruce Tasker, who came off a 4:89 start. 1800ths of a second quicker at the start, and Lukas Kolb finishes 2100ths faster at the bottom.
Well, the Austrians, these guys have men and women, more numbers in their teams. Great world championships they hosted. Benny Mayer finished 5th in the four-man. Janine Flock won the silver in the women's skeleton, and they also won a team gold bronze medal. And look how close you can get here. Look at these people here. They love their sliding here. It's like going to the Montreal Forum to watch hockey. These people here, they're very well-educated sliding sports spectators. Take your helmets off, guys.
That is the do the hair. Nice one. That is the final slide of the season for Lukas Kolb in World Cup competition. He finishes 22nd, will not make the cut. But it is Yoon Jung-won of Korea who leads the field by 200ths of a second from the man with whom, 900ths back is the man with whom he tied in Whistler for the gold medal, Rico Peter, and between them, 200ths behind the leader, is the winner of the last World Cup race, and Sam-Moritz Bert-Hefty of Switzerland. So Korea, Switzerland, Switzerland. Yeah, we're still in Germany.
We're in Bavaria, right?
Yeah, I know. What about it? Look, the Germans are all there. They're poised to pounce. Nico Walter, Francesco Friedrich, the world champion, tied for 4th. Johannes Lochner in 18th place. And let's hope Friedrich has calmed down by the time they get down to the final 5 sleds in the second heat, because he was absolutely fuming after his first run down the ice. Started in deep confusion. So the top 20 rounded out by Oskars Kibermanis and Dominik Dvorak of the Czech Republic. Eva de Bruin with Lukas Kolb, Bruce Tasker and Vuk Radjenovic will join the fans on the sidelines. Join them and us too, please, as we return for the final heat of the two-man season at 4 p.m. at 1500 Greenwich Mean Time. We'll be back with all the action and our season finale.